During a recent appearance on Waste Some Time with Jason Green, the iconic Dokken guitarist George Lynch looked back on auditioning for Ozzy Osbourne after the death of Randy Rhoads in 1982, and coming fairly close to landing the gig. Asked how he ended up auditioning for Ozzy, George replied,
Dana Strum was really the interface, the intermediary. He was like the jobber, I guess you would say. You know, he was out there. He was Ozzy's point guy, from what I could tell. You know, bringing people in.
George, I always wondered, and maybe you know, why did Dana never play bass with Ozzy? He's always in the mix, but he never played.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. You know, Ozzy and Sharon were very conscious of not just your playing, but I think more of your image.
Right.
So I know in my case that had something to do with the fact that I didn't work out, because at that point in my life I wasn't really making much, if any, money playing guitar. So I still had a job. You know, I drove a truck. I was a Teamster. I drove a liquor truck. And I loved my job, you know, because it was probably the best job I ever had up to that point. And, you know, I had 2 kids and I had to provide. So I ended up cutting my hair to keep my job. And then I got the Ozzy call and I showed up with short hair, and that really bothered them.
They had you tour, though. You didn't play. You stayed off to the side of the stage.
No, I didn't tour. I did travel with them. And they wanted me to kind of, you know, Brad to mentor me or kind of watch what was going on. And then I would go up for sound checks, you know, and I'd plug into Brad's rig and I'd play along. And then we'd go into rehearsals in London and Dallas and back here in LA at SR. So, you know, I was involved, but no, I didn't step out on stage in front of an audience.
But you went overseas, right, George?
Yeah, I went to England, Scotland, Ireland.
Were they paying you?
Never paid me a nickel, and I got to say, you know, out of principle, that was very strange, because, you know, they didn't seem interested in what was going to happen to me afterwards or anything about me. You know, it was just what served them, and I get that, you know.
You had to put your job on hold, though, too, to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I had 2 kids. I didn't really have any money. I mean, we had a beat-up Pinto station wagon and a shitty apartment in Anaheim, and I was just trying to stay above water, and I had to quit my job. I lost my job, you know. And when we got the word, actually, Ozzy came up to me and says, you know, and I didn't quite understand what he said because it's hard to understand what he's saying, but he was mumbling something, you know, and sort of just me and him in the back room. And he goes, we're not going to need you. I'm paraphrasing, and we can just let you go. And that was it. It wasn't any like.
So George, is the story not true that he fired you in front of Jake?
I don't know if Jake was in the room. I don't think so.
Jake tells a story. Well, before Jake gets involved, you called Mark Kendall from Great White. He was in Dante Fox, and you said they need a bass player because Rudy Sarzo was going back to Quiet Riot. And they got Don Costa. You recommended him for them.
Right. Well, no, I was playing with Don Costa, and for some reason, I don't remember why, but I recommended Don Costa. And he got the gig. He had the cheese grate. He looked great. He kind of was shirt off, and he's like an animal, fucking caveman guy. And he had the cheese grater on the back of his bass, and would scrape his knuckles on it, and would bleed everywhere. And Ozzy loved that. So I didn't have any of that. You know, I was just a guitar player. I wasn't like, I didn't have a great look, I guess, or whatever. And Jakey showed up that night that I got fired with like full leather, you know, like a Michael Jackson fucking leather jumpsuit with fucking hair down to his ass. And, you know,
that's the first time you'd ever met him.
I don't know.
You didn't know Jake?
Probably not. I don't remember. Probably not.
I mean, I know now you guys know each other well, obviously. But so the story is that Jake walks into the room and, you know, it's very awkward that he's basically getting your job. And one of the legends is that that Ozzy fires you just in front of Jake, like, well, we're hiring and we don't need you anymore, which is a bummer all around. If it's
I mean, it was pretty devastating, and it was done very cold, and that was the thing. It was a month out of my life, and I would have think anybody in that position would have at least said, "Hey, are you going to be okay? Do you need a little something just to get you, bridge you over to your whatever, get you back on your life, or nothing. It was not even a fucking nickel. It was just insane. I was just like, so we got evicted from our apartment. So I couldn't find a job, like the next day. And we were behind on bills when I was doing this whole audition thing and tramping around the world with these guys, and, wasting everybody's time, I guess. And then I came back with nothing, and we lost our apartment. We got evicted.
Man.
And we had to move in with her folks into their garage. It was just rough, and it took me another year to get out of that mess. And
George, I always wondered, did you ever see Ozzy? I don't think Dokken played with Ozzy or anything like that.
I saw Ozzy with Brad Gillis before that all happened.
No, I mean, did you ever see him again after that incident?
Oh yeah. Yeah, not personally. No, I've seen him play in concert, but
right. You haven't had a conversation with Ozzy. I mean, George, at the end of the day, as your success happens, records start going platinum. You get nominated for a Grammy.
I should start an Ozzy Osbourne survivors, like group that we meet, like AA meeting or something. We can tell our stories.
Don Costa will be there.
There'll be like 30 people there,
Don Costa got his nose broken by an Ozzy headbutt when he got fired. So, do you know that one?
No.
That story comes from Jake E. Lee. I'll paraphrase it real fast. They said that Don Costa used to get in front of Ozzy on the stage, and Sharon told him, you got to stay in the back when Ozzy's up front. And he told somebody on the crew, I just do it when they're not looking. Ozzy found out. Ozzy has him come in the back of the bus. Ozzy headbutts him and breaks his nose. He's bleeding. Jake is on the bus. Jake asks him, what happened? He runs off the bus, and Ozzy says, he tried to kiss me. At least that's what I'm going to say. I don't know why Don Costa didn't just beat Ozzy up, but at this point, he thinks he still has his gig. They tell him to come to the US Festival that he's going to play. And poor Don Costa, Ozzy pays this is Jake's story, pays $5,000 for his nose to be fixed, plastic surgery. He shows up at the US Festival. He brings his family. And when he gets there, he sees Bob Daisley. Jake E. Lee goes up to Bob Daisley and goes, what are you doing here? And he says, well, I'm playing bass tonight. And they then told Don Costa at the gig, you're fired.
It seemed very vengeful.
It's ridiculous.
I'm wondering, I wasn't around him long enough or got inside of him enough to know how much of that was Ozzy or was that Sharon? I don't know.
I feel like a lot of this is Sharon, because I've heard a lot of musicians say they bonded with Ozzy, but Sharon would then make an ultimate say.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. I think that's what was going on. And she had some things to say about me, and said, why you play that ugly green guitar that looks like a booger? Why'd you cut your hair? Why this? Why does it sound like that? She goes, why does it sound like that? It's supposed to sound like that? Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good. Really?
It's ridiculous that she's a media darling now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Spinal Tap.
Thank you for tuning in, and please hit that like button. It's appreciated. Make sure that you subscribe for more rock-related content.